Servus! This right here, according to me, is one of the best BMW M cars ever produced, the F80 M3. It has one major flaw, however, and that is, it sounds absolutely terrible. This car has the most dog shit sound all the cars in the world combined, and every time I drive it, I literally think I'm driving a big fart cannon. It's really, really bad. Like, really, really bad. Today, however, we're gonna change this because we're finally going to single turbo my F80 M3. This is gonna be absolutely wild, and I really can't wait to do this because I wanted to do this for a very, very long time, and I'm very excited, as you guys can see. It's my baby. Alright, anyway, so this is my F80. Well, you guys might have already realized this car is a different color than it was before. Shout out really quick to the guys from 3M and Folien Extreme here in Austria. They rewrapped the car because, well, Celine wanted to have matching cars. I'll show you guys really quick. F80, M2. Bro, the garage is so packed right now. Yeah, pretty cool. Also, we kind of still have all the battle scars from our Croatia trip here on the side. With the wrap, unfortunately, you see it quite well. We have a dent in here, we have a dent here, we have a pretty big dent here. So shout out to the guys from Bugatti. Holy. You're probably wondering, why does it actually sound so bad? I'm gonna show you guys in a second. And also with that, I'm gonna explain everything to you that we have planned. So this here is the S55 engine. It's an inline 6-cylinder engine, and well, we have two intake manifolds here, which means we also have two turbos. They are here on this side, somewhere down below. 6 cylinders firing into two turbos. It means that this car has an unequal length exhaust, kind of like Subis have it, kind of like some Porsches have it. And this is the big problem, because these two unequal sides basically give off two different frequencies in both like exhaust strengths or whatever it's called in English. So basically, by eliminating the twin turbos that sit somewhere down below here and putting one big turbo instead, we don't have this unequal length anymore in the exhaust, but we now have one very big single exhaust. And this is going to change the sound of the car dramatically and hopefully make it sound better than before. In fact, actually, this might be one of the best sounding 6 cylinders if we do it right. So I hope we actually do.
I just saw we have to adjust one thing because the downpipe goes into two exhaust pipes.
Ah ja, und wir wollen ja
means
eins.
we have the equal length.
Wir müssen nämlich da wechseln.
And then we have to cut it and make one long single pipe.
This is a sehr guter Plan. So, for all the parts we need, it's actually pretty simple. Really quick, before we continue this video, all of this turbo kit, except for the turbos itself, cost me 500 euros on eBay. Back at that time, it didn't really seem so special to me to mention this fact, but it's gonna make sense in the rest of the video. You're gonna see why in a second. So we're literally putting a cheap eBay turbo kit on my F80 M3. So for all the parts that we need, it's actually pretty simple. We have the exhaust manifold, which connects to one big turbo. Then obviously we have all the downpipes and everything that we need. We have the wastegate, which is electronically adjusted. This way we can run the original wastegate modules, basically.
The stock ECU.
And the stock ECU, which is pretty cool. So we don't need any aftermarket ECUs or nothing. It's gonna make everything as simple as possible. Then apart from that, the original fuel pump is pretty good on these cars, so we don't need to change this. What we do need to change, however, are the injectors. These are injectors from an F10 M5, which I have somewhere outside. So we only have to put these 6 injectors in the car because the car needs a little bit more fuel than stock, and then we should be good to go. We don't need to open the engine. We don't need to do anything more than just putting all these parts onto the car. Actually, sounds pretty simple if you ask me. So I'm very excited for this. And like I said, I wanted to do it for a very long time. So let's see how it actually is gonna work out. First things first, however, we have to disassemble the engine bay and get all the old parts out. So we have to get rid of the intake manifolds here. We have to get rid of probably the charge pipes and everything. Engine cover has to come off. This probably has to come off. And then obviously we have to throw out the old turbos and the old exhaust manifold. Everything.
The most important thing is you can drive that strut tower here.
Yeah, because the turbo is gonna sit on the bottom.
That's the most important.
Yeah, because I really love the strut tower. Anyway, let's get started. Let's get going.
Orbit production.
So, ladies and gentlemen, Gabriel did some amazing work. Everything came out of the F80. So now we have enough space here to put on the big turbo and everything. So if you ever wondered what an S55 looks like from the passenger side, this is it, basically. It was quite a bit of work. And these are the original turbos. We have 2 of them, but look how small and tiny they are. They are absolutely, honestly, they are so tiny. I think it's a little bit embarrassing that they are this tiny, but
Mitsubishi.
Mitsubishi turbo. What the
But it's crazy that such small turbos make such big amount of horsepower.
Yeah, it looks good. We ran like 650 horsepower, I think, with these. But yeah, also obviously, of course, all the old intake manifolds and everything had to come off. I don't really know what to do with the Venturi. It was absolutely sick, but we can't use it anymore for the new ones. So just a little size comparison. This is what we had before, and this is what we're running now. I think we're on the right way. Also, one quick little interesting side fact. This is the exhaust that we ran. It's the Valvetronic, and you might be wondering why is it like bent all these ways. There's certain exhaust manufacturers, like Valvetronic for example, that tries to fight like the unequal length, which I already told you about, by making one side of the exhaust longer so that in the end they're both the same length again. Because this side here is longer on the engine side and this side here is shorter. So by making this side longer on the exhaust side, they're both kind of the same length again. But the problem is it still does not really eliminate that rasp that you have of the S55. The only way to eliminate that is by single turboing it. With everything out the way, it's time to get the new turbo and everything that we need installed in the F80. And also when I told you guys it was pretty easy to get the parts out, I was maybe lying because it was actually very hard. Like Gabriel had to lift up the engine on one side, as you guys can see here. We had to take out one of the engine mounts and everything. Also es war eigentlich gar nicht so geil. But installing the new turbo is going to be way nicer now and we are not going to run into any issues at all. So, first things first, gasket, and then we're gonna have to install the manifold before we put the turbo into the car.
Brand new.
Unglaublich.
BMW.
Wow. Nicht nur ultra beschissen zum Arbeiten, sondern auch ultra beschissen zum Filmen. Pro tip, if you have smaller hands, everything will look really big in your hands. That's really cool. Mein Fuß, Alter.
Beschissener Scheiß. Das ist bei mir mit beschissener Scheiß dran.
Ich hab den aber gefilmt. Wir haben gerade eine Schrauben gerissen. Also
Das war nicht einmal fest.
der Gabe hat irgendwann die Schrauben gerissen.
Das war echt nicht fest.
Tut mir leid.
Ja, was sind? Wir haben jetzt zwei Möglichkeiten. Die erste Möglichkeit ist, wir bauen den kompletten Krümel wieder an.
Ja,
Also wir bauen den Krümel an, bohren den Schrauben raus.
ja.
Das wird ein Randl dauern. Aber dann sind wir natürlich voll safe unterwegs. Die zweite Möglichkeit ist, wir scheißen auf den Anschrauben und ja, haben halt drauf geschissen und fahren einfach so bei Reihe mit 27 anderen Schrauben halt. Das heißt, Option B.
Alright, so we have mounted the headers and all 17 bolts. Es gibt nicht mehr als 17. So it's time for the turbo. For the turbo, by the way, we went with Turbo Smart. This is a Turbo Smart
6466.
6466. Genau das wollte ich auch gerade sagen. Twin scroll. So it is actually not the biggest turbo, obviously. It is pretty small because I'm not chasing big high horsepower with this build. I want the car to spool as soon as possible so that I'm still able to drift it and the car sounds good. So this is why I went with this. Absolutely beautiful turbo. Probably the best you can purchase. Passt, haben wir nicht. Leg mich am Arsch. So our idea is we need to make this space a bit bigger. So the engine is already off the engine mount. So we're gonna basically lift the engine up a little bit by lowering the car and then still keeping the engine in place. So this should hopefully shift the engine a little bit to the left and then we can hopefully put the turbo into here. Alright, so we now know the turbo fits into the car, which is very good Voraussetzungen. We have to see the position of the turbo though, so we're gonna have to lower the car again, put the charge pipe in, so that we know where this has to be, because once it's installed in the car, we can't move it anymore. So let's do this really quick, and then we install the turbo again. Also, so obviously this here is the original, well not the original intercooler, but the intercooler for the original position. So we now have a charge pipe that goes... Das passt hinten vorne da. Ach so, aber die Abdeckung, die können wir wegmachen, oder? Hey, who would have thought that the plug-and-play turbo kit is not actually so plug-and-play? Especially since this was like a really cheap China kit. Ja, ich muss nur den Stopfler weggeben. I was at a car meet on the weekend and one of the guys walked up to the car, which was the Supra, which was on the show, and literally said to my face, in reality the cars don't look as bad as they do in the video. Because he said we are pusher. Ah, sicher. Schön. Ja, ein bisschen besser kennt.
Ich glaube,
die Abdeckung kommt einfach weg.
Ja, gut, haben wir die unbedingt zerschnitten.
Ja.
Aber es passt auf jeden Fall.
Very beautiful. Alright, so the charge pipe is in place. Let's put the turbo in place, oder? Ja.
Gefällt dir das?
Ja, da tun wir einfach.
Ja, wir können ja die Abdeckung so zurechtschneiden, dass die dann wieder drauf passt, oder?
Voll. Alright, anyway, so turbo time again.
Yeah.
Alright, before we install the turbo, however, this is not the engine, this is the engine. There's two oil lines because we were running two turbos before. So you can see there's 1 and 2. Obviously, now that we run one turbo, we only need one of those. So we're gonna have to close the other one of those holes. And it's very important that you actually take the front one right here because the rear one apparently has some restrictor in it. So we're gonna close the rear one and then the oil line for the turbo is gonna go into the front one, this one right here. Then we can put the turbo inside, the gasket on here, and we should be good to go. Obviously, since this is a very cheap eBay turbo kit, we also just figured out that we need to extend this side of the turbo by about this much because nothing fits out of all the pipes that we got with the kit. So, hole is closed, which means turbo can go back into the car. If we do everything right, the turbo can stay in there forever, basically, so we don't need to get it out anymore. So, apart from the intake not fitting, the oil lines that came with the kit are also not fitting, so... Weil die Leitung einfach...
Viel zu kurz ist. Siehst du, die Leitung ist da. Oben, siehst du das? Ja genau, da ist die Leitung, was wir brauchen.
Ja.
Und da ist der Anschluss.
Ah, okay. Yeah. Alright, so I jinxed it when I said the turbo can stay in there forever.
Schon wieder passt. Ohne Probleme.
Wunderschön. It looks really, really good with the turbo in there. I also kind of like the position of it being down there because it kind of makes it a bit more sneaky, you know? This is our oil return line, which is also way too long for what we need. It needs to go into here, down here, this little part here, and then here to the turbo. So the oil feeding line is too short, doesn't fit. The oil return line, we don't have the fitting adapter to the engine, so that also doesn't fit. So the charge pipe, which we installed here really nicely, is missing about this much to the turbo, so it's also not really fitting. So we have to make the charge pipe custom pretty much. We have to make the oil lines custom. We probably also have to make the water lines
Maybe
custom.
we're lucky with the oil feed line because if you look here, the feed line is...
Ah yeah, shut down.
If we turn it back, that it stands straight.
But the turbo is already in place, so the turbo is fitting pretty nicely. That's a good part. Yeah, just the rest of the kit was not so great after all. But now it's Gabriel's lovely job to make everything fit together. So Gabriel is now gonna make the charge pipe fit onto the turbo and also like all the accessory lines that we need. So Gabriel, Schrauberzeit, los geht's.
Mani's turn to try to bolt on that one bolt in the back because my nerves are blank. I tried it now for like 2 or 3 hours and now Mani gives it a try. Danke Mani. So after 2.5 hours, Mani finally bolted on that one stupid bolt here, which you can't see. I can't really describe how stupid it is. Dankeschön. So it's the moment of truth now, and I can show you that turbo and all the hoses are ready installed. Return line goes into the oil pump, then water line, oil feed line is mounted. I can't show you because you can't see it, but that means we have finished our turbo setup, which goes to the point which I like the most, and that is building an exhaust. At first we take a look at the charge pipe, if it's fitting, then we still have to take care of that one bolt which snapped, but except of that we are finished.
meine Damen und Herren. It is exactly a few hours later. Gabriel finished all his, well, custom fabrication work thanks to the cheap eBay turbo kit. Very nice of you guys to make such a perfectly fitting kit for the F80. So, was hast du machen müssen? Du hast da umschmeißen müssen.
Zurückschneiden müssen, den Bogen steiler stellen müssen, dass wir da auf den Lader hinkommen.
Then we have an extended pipe for the turbocharger. So we can basically put this onto here. Then all the wires, all the hoses are connected to the turbocharger. So everything is kind of fitting. We only need like a little clamp over here. Then the wastegate. I'm honestly very excited to see how this will drive once we're finished. With the big turbo wastegate, so electronically activated wastegate. Very interesting. And we also have like the whole piping for the wastegate. So basically everything on the top side is finished. The only thing that is a little bit of a pain in the ass, and by a little bit I mean actually quite a lot. Do you guys still remember that one screw that broke off? That we didn't really want to care about? The problem is this screw is sitting at a very important position. I mean, in the end, it would literally take us like 5 minutes to finish everything. Then Gabriel would have to weld the exhaust and everything would be good. But like I said, that one screw is sitting right at this position here. Gabriel already tried to get it out somehow. It's a very important location because it's like the end of the exhaust, like the end of the scheiß Krümmer. So if we have a leak right here, it's not gonna be good.
The cylinder is always pretty hot.
And turbocharged as well, so we're making some boost in there. So we have to get it out somehow. And Gabriel's this whole day today has been just him trying to get it out. But you have no idea, which basically is getting all the parts out of the car again. Everything that we put together is going out again. And then hopefully we can get the screw out. And then also you have to weld something for the wastegate. So, it's all good. Ja, Gabriel, viel Spaß, Janan. Damit verspätet sich das Projekt um einen Tag, which means it's going to be very close with our dyno appointment on Tuesday. As usual, every time we build a car, we have a dyno appointment, and it's like the closest thing ever to the dyno appointment. Thank you, eBay Turbo Kit, for $600 for being so absolutely plug and play and amazing.
So, look at this. The bolt is not turning. 5 hours later, and I can tell you I'm really sick of it because this screw just won't come out. Now it looks a little bit disgusting, but I hammered that Torx inside. Before that I screwed the hole. I drilled the hole with this one here. Maybe we can open it now. I'm really sick of that f***ing screw here. So please just open. Oh God,
Yeah. As you guys could see, the screw really did not want to come out. So this left Gabriel only with one more option. With the screw now out the way and everything tightly bolted to the engine how it's supposed to be, it was finally time for the most important part, building the single-axis exhaust.
Servus! That was absolutely amazing last couple of hours or days. As you guys can see, it took a little bit longer than expected to get everything out of the car, including the screw. And the kit was so absolutely not plug and play that it's actually kind of ridiculous. Gabriel had to do so much custom work. It would have probably even just be easier to do it ourselves in the first place. And we kind of overshot our time schedule. So now we're 2 days behind, but we have the dyno appointment coming up tomorrow. And at least now everything is back together. So we have the air filter on the car, we have the turbo installed, we have the intake system all installed. The only thing missing is the wastegate. We're waiting on some pipes for that right now, but at least for the first time we can actually now start up the beautiful F80 M3. I'm honestly very excited to see how it sounds. Ja, schmeißen wir mal an und schauen wir uns mal an. And also I really hope it doesn't blow up tomorrow on the dyno. So it looks so good now with the wrap and everything. Eigentlich liegt Davy immer im Stand einmal. Ja, okay, ist so geil. wait to see how it sounds on the dyno. Also getting the wastegates and everything to work with the stock ECU was a pain in the ass. But yeah, Gabriel made it work together with the help of some friends. We now have the single exit exhaust in the back, which looks pretty sick, I have to say. Oh, I think this is gonna be so rowdy. So anyway, fast forward to tomorrow. Let's go to the dyno. Servus, ladies and gentlemen, we are here at NRP Performance in Austria, which means we made it to the dyno. Gabriel had a quick little session yesterday because he had to do something. We have a hood exit in my F80. This is only for the wastegate, but the problem is there was absolutely no space to direct the wastegate down to the bottom. So for now, we have to make it to the hood. I don't know if I like it or not. Kind of looks cool. It's also kind of weird seeing it in the F80. And also, Gabriel is an alignment pro. So we have the wheels pointing straight and the steering wheel is, yeah. But yeah, we're ready, car is ready. I hope at least, I really hope it doesn't blow up. I hope the China Turbo Kit does its wonders and we actually see some proper power and most importantly, good sound coming out of this car. Very special day today. I've been waiting for this for quite some time. Aber Alter, das Auto schaut so gestellt aus von vorne. Vorher hast du gut ausgesucht, Schatzi. Shout out again to F80 Extreme, Timo. The wastegate sounds a bit stupid right now, but once we have to tune everything on the car, it should be better. Because right now it doesn't know what to do because we don't have to tune on it. Because it's still the wastegate for 2 turbos, not 1. The car has to learn everything new right now. Was sagst du?
Nervös bin ich.
Wieso?
Weil jedes Mal nervös bin vom Prüfstand. Ich würde mir einfach immer wünschen, dass die Tage nicht existieren.
Ja, was soll schon passieren mit unserem billigen Kinder-Single-Turbo-Kit? Außer der Turbo, der war cool. Danke, Turbo Smart. So we haven't really started the dyno yet, but Nico, the guy who owns this dyno here, he already found one flaw in our low-budget eBay turbo kit. We're missing basically some adapters for the fuel injectors, for the injectors. So, das macht heute Arbeit jetzt gerade so. So, all 6 injectors back in the car, which means we're ready for dyno. The plan is pretty simple. Nico is going to be in the car. He's going to be mapping it. He's going to be relearning everything to the car because the car basically right now can't figure out what it's supposed to do. It has...
No, it's so gentle.
Yeah, wirklich, oder? And you have... yeah. And we have to teach everything from the basics back to the stock ECU and make the car run. And then once it's running, we can see how much power it's actually gonna make. I can play around with it a little bit. This is temporary, by the way, the wastegate. So don't look at it too much. It looks a little bit interesting. Hast du da irgendeine Vorlage gehabt für das? Zwischen den Haxen? Detailgetreu nachgebaut.
1:1 aufbau.
Honestly, now with all the custom work and everything, it's pretty cool. So shout out once again to the guys from Turbo Smart for hooking us up with a proper turbo at least and a proper wastegate to go very well with our 500 euro eBay turbo kit. That's pretty cool. Also so mit Blitz der eine Film ist gerade das Schlimmste, was ich tue, weil das ist echt, also das ist der schierste Motorraum, glaube ich. If you're a professional detailer and you want to detail my engine bay, anyway, no matter what happens today, this is the moment where we see how good our cheap Chinese turbo kit, minus the turbo, actually works in a dyno. Alright, I know what you're thinking right now. You're sitting at home and you're like, Mr. Seatman, it sounds absolutely terrible. You're right, but also the wastegate is open right now because it's cold start. So once the tuning is done, hopefully it should sound way better than this. Because right now it's blowing everything out here. Geil, oder? Apart from the car sounding absolutely terrible, we're also not getting enough fuel on cylinder 4, 5 and 6 because, well, we already know why, so we're gonna try to figure out right now. Also, it turns out that we're one of the first people to run like this wastegate setup because, like I already said, I don't know if I said it in the video, but we're running the original electronic wastegates. The other one is somewhere here in the front, disconnected, and this is one of the turbos, so the engine is really not knowing what's going on right now, and the cool thing is none of us really knows either. So Nico just also contacted the guys from MHD, you know, the BMW experts. They said it should be possible, but they also never heard anybody do it like this, like with the original wastegates. So I honestly thought this F80 single turbo project is going to be one of the easier ones this year, and it's just going to be slap it on there, take it to the dyno, car sounds good, everything's great, but as it turns out, obviously it's not what I thought. All right, so hopefully Nico, the genius brainiac, found the issue.
Ich habe jetzt manuell, soll ich geschrieben?
Wie du möchtest.
No problem. So I just manually tried to adjust the wastegate table. It's because we run a custom wastegate settings with my own PIDs. So I just set the wall table to 100% just to see if it works. So the wastegate is really close and it's working. So I will now build from scratch wall wastegate table and then we will see if it will work. So.
Du kannst voll gut Englisch reden, Alter. So it's a lot of work, but at least the wastegate is hopefully gonna close now. Bro, I'm actually really happy we came here to this place because Nico actually knows what he's doing. So, if everything is correct now, we should hear all the S55 glory from the back and not from the front anymore. At least while it's idling. Okay. Alright, so wastegate is closed. Bro, I was already trying to get a plan B, having Gabriel re-weld everything with a normal wastegate, but now I think hopefully, I don't want to say it too early, but it's looking promising now. Wastegate in the front is closed, which means, as you guys can hear also, we got everything coming out the back where it's supposed to come out. The only thing, we might need a little muffler in there. It might be a bit too loud or too raspy, but we didn't have any, and this was a pretty quick project, so it sounds way better now. And the toe spool is insane. So Nico is now trying to figure out how to open the wastegate, how to close it, at which point and everything. So the next few runs is just going to be tuning, trial and error. It's going to be a long day today, but I think hopefully in the end it's going to be worth it. So fast forward a couple of hours, I guess. Alright, first couple runs down. Was haben wir?
Also wir haben ein Problem, das problemlos zu lösen.
Alright, to summarize really quick in English, European Union, bad. European Union says the fuel only works combined with the air. Currently one of the airflow sensors is not reading any airflow, which means we also have some fuel issues. So Gabriel's job is gonna be airflow sensor, hose into the intake system, and then we should be back again. Ta-da! So, well, yeah. Cool news is it kind of fixed our issue, but at the same time it also didn't, because we still can't rev over 5k RPM. So all the runs you just heard were all under 5k RPM because we're not getting enough fuel to the engine. We thought it's that hose at first, but it turns out it's not only that hose, it's also because the O2 sensor positions that were like kind of already on the eBay turbo kit are wrong. So we need new O2 sensors, and currently it's Friday evening, which means we can't get them here in Austria because nobody works at that time anymore. So it's a pretty interesting situation right now. But anyway, we ordered them with Göndle. They're gonna arrive tomorrow in the morning. Gabriel's gonna mount them in the car, and then Gabriel's gonna do a few dyno runs. I unfortunately can't be here, but Gabriel's gonna do a good job, I think. Wie geil ist der gerade?
0 von 10.
Kannst du dich noch erinnern, was du gesagt hast, F80 ist so schön, es macht so Spaß.
Ja, es hat bis zu einem gewissen Punkt tatsächlich Spaß gemacht.
Shoutout, by the way, to Nico from NRP Performance here in Vienna. He's giving us that lift. He's letting Gabriel stay here in the workshop to work on the car. We're also gonna install a rear muffler to make the car sound a little bit better, because right now it sounded like a Subaru for some reason. So I see you guys tomorrow when everything is done. Also eigentlich seht ihr am morgen. Oh, the turbo noise are crazy though. Ja, Spili. Das hab ich noch gar nicht gehört davor. Honestly, it makes me kind of happy again. I don't think I've ever heard a car with such a loud turbo before.
Hier, 3?
With the Hammer.